Time now for the markets with Leighton, and you say there's a lot of chatter leading up to the annual planting intentions report, which there usually is.
That's right, nothing unusual about that. Also, a little poultry news. U.S. chicken production in February up 4% compared to a year ago. Also this week in the markets, U.S. cotton exports continue to surprise the industry. The recent upturn in soybean prices may lose steam, while signs of stability at the wholesale level supports beef contracts. The cotton market has rallied the last 10 days or so, and the latest weekly U.S. export report shows what analysts term hefty-looking sales considering the tight cotton supply available. Shipments to date may even exceed the current USDA forecast. Meanwhile, there is speculation by donors that China could be looking to buy cotton depending on how the Indian export ban unravels. Over in grains and oilseeds, Ag Facts reports action at midweek suggests the upturn in soybeans could be losing momentum. The average pre-report estimate has 2012 bean plantings just slightly larger than last year. Meanwhile, on the boards, old crop beans are probably the most bullish of the entire grain and oilseed sector, according to analyst Jamie Kohaki. He thinks export sales will determine what bean prices do.
The key is going to be exports here with China. When do they shift their demand to South America? And I know how long does that take to process down in there? Brazil is about 30–40% harvested. Argentina's getting started. Brazil's numbers are continuing to shrink. Their crop is getting smaller and smaller. Pre-report, I would be looking at 1340 November. If you're nervous of a bearish report coming in there, plus 75 million acres was where I would lay some off at.
Meanwhile, on the rice side of the grain sector, futures edged higher despite the weakness in other grains and soybeans. Arkansas Farm Bureau analysts say the threat of acreage moving to corn or beans is providing some buying energy for rice. Export business is described as slow, and world rice stocks are ample, according to traders. Ag Facts reports the prospective plantings numbers are expected to show over a 5% increase in all wheat acres for 2012. Analyst Sue Martin recently said she thinks wheat is going to closely follow corn in the market here as things grind along.
And demand is good. And so I'm thinking that with what's underpinning the corn market here for demand, and of course it appears to be a cash-led market on corn, I think wheat's keeping its eyes on that because wheat can't get too far away from corn because then they'll turn around and they'll start feeding corn. You know, wheat's been under the price of corn. Some think that that would lead to seeing some feeding of wheat. Maybe. But I think at the moment, we're still grinding in this sideways phase. July KC wheat is right up against 200-day moving average.
To move us towards the livestock markets, let's look at our cattle-related trivia for this week. Here it is. What breed of cattle are often referred to as Oreo cookie cows? Is it Beefmaster, Highland, Simmental, or Belted Galloway? You'll find out the answer coming up. Live and feeder cattle contracts enjoyed triple-digit gains early in the week, but by Thursday there were some signs worries about fundamentals were starting to curb some of that market enthusiasm. Extension Ag economist John Michael Riley joined me in studio to discuss recent reports and developments regarding beef. Let's begin with that March 23rd cattle on feed report. What are some of the take-home points you might say from those new numbers?
I think the take-home message is that it was mostly neutral. Cattle on feed March 1, a little over 11.5 million head. That's just under 3% above where we were at a year ago. Trade was looking for that number to be slightly over 2%, so a little higher than what trade expected, but no real big eye-popping number there. Placements during the month of February, 1.7 million head, about just under 3% increase, and trade was looking for that number to be right at that point. Marketings, if there was a surprise, it was marketings. They were down about 2%. Trade expected that to be down about half a percentage point. If you think about the events that were going on in the month of February, all these numbers really make sense. The higher placements, corn was dropping during the month of February, so there was a real incentive to put cattle on feed. You think about where we're at in terms of the lack of supply of cattle and where beef prices were at. Feeders really have the upper hand right now, and they showed that through the month of February. They didn't put cattle or sell cattle to the packers like they normally do, and like trade expected, mainly because they could do it.
All right, let's come back to the Presnier moment this week in particular. Earlier in the week, we had some price gains in the sector. Right now it seems to be softening back up some. What are you taking out of that? What are we looking for as we enter the month of April?
Well, we typically see prices increase as we move into the grilling season, and we haven't seen that the month of March. Prices have dropped about 5 to 6% on depending on which futures contract you look at, and a lot of that has to do with two big things have been going on. We've seen an increase in fuel prices, and that has everybody kind of nervous about what that's going to do to beef demand. And the other thing is finely textured lean beef, or lean finely textured beef. It's been another term has been used for it. Both of these have had negative impacts on the market, whether they should have or not.
So really, again, the economy overall is going to be impacting this beef sector as we move forward here, particularly gasoline prices.
Yeah.
The USDA is releasing its quarterly hog and pig inventory numbers Friday afternoon the 30th, about 24 hours after this program is recorded. On average now, analysts say they expect to see an increase in supply. Also, all categories are expected to see an increase in weight, with the biggest expected in the 50-pound and lighter listing. Well, just before our feature story this week, here's the answer to our trivia quiz. The belted Galloway is the correct breed. That's D. The animals are totally black except for that belted white band evenly distributed around their midsection.